Hello, welcome back for the final expert interview of the MOOC. Today we're joined by Christina Elmer, who is a member of the editorial board at Der Spiegel in Germany. Der Spiegel has done some really interesting investigations into algorithms in society as part of their coverage over the last year or so. And so I'm really looking forward to learning more about those types of projects. Christina, hello and welcome. It's really wonderful to have you with us today, speaking to us about these investigations. Thanks very much for sharing with the MOOC today.
Of course, yeah. You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of dive in, some of the students of the MOOC, it's a very international class. They may not be familiar with Der Spiegel. I wonder if you could sort of start us out by telling us a little bit about the publication and also about your particular role there.
Yeah, the Spiegel is a German news weekly magazine, which has a really long tradition. It has been founded in 1947, I think, and since 1994, we also have our own news website, Spiegel Online. And this news website has its own independent editorial team and a data-driven newsroom. We reach around 21 million readers per month. So this is the unique users number, and most of them are in Germany right now. And I started as a science editor there at Spiegel Online and then could build up the data journalism department, which is now consistent of 4 colleagues with different skill sets. 2 of them are journalists who learn to code, and 2 were originally urban planners who started a blog and then published their own things, and we found them by this. So the team is quite diverse in its backgrounds, and it already combines many different perspectives in itself. So I had the pleasure to lead this team until last year, and now I am working as a member of this editorial board at Spiegel Online. So I'm fostering data journalism, but also the overall further development of the site, of our designs, tools, and workflows, for example. Yeah.
Great. So, one of the topics for the MOOC this week is about how to investigate algorithms in society. And I know Spiegel has done several of these investigations. You recently published a chapter in the Data Journalism Handbook. I wonder if you could sort of tell us a little bit more about some of these investigations that you've been undertaking there.
We did this because we believe that algorithms influence many quite important areas in our society already. So for us, it was quite natural to go into this direction because we believe that journalists should be able to investigate on them. And there has been a constant discussion on algorithmic accountability at Spiegel Online in the recent years, but initially only as an occasion for our reporting, not in the form of our own research or an analysis project covering and analyzing algorithms. So we started with these projects basically as collaboration projects because, as you know already, our data journalism team is quite small, and we don't have a big data analysis unit in the background, for example. So we started doing such projects in 2017 in the run-up to our federal elections in Germany. And then we joined forces with a German NGO named Algorithm Watch. They are quite early experts in this field, and they helped us to gain insights into the personalization of Google search results. So we did the crowdsourcing with them. They did the analysis, and then we published the results together. Through this project, our data journalism department supported the planning and the methodological evaluation of the operation. So it's more or less has been a part where we have been partner of the project, but did not do everything on our own. It was a nice start into that topic. And as a result, it turned out that the personalization was not as intensive as expected. So we could somehow debunk a widespread myth by doing this investigation. And it was not the result that we had expected as well, but I think we could. Yeah.
So this was sort of looking at the filter bubble in the Google search results?
Yeah, true. It was about the question if this filter bubble really existed, and if, especially if it existed in a sense that you get different search results based on your local placement, like your IP address. People always thought that this would be the case and that this would really distinguish the different filter bubbles. But we found out that, when you look at the first sites of the news results, of the Google search results, you don't see that many differences there. So, at least according to the place where you are. So, yeah. And at the same time, also in the run-up to the elections, we collaborated with ProPublica, and they had done this ad collector project in the US and also wanted to do it in several European countries, and it was perfect to try this out in Germany. And the goal here was to see if Facebook ads targeting has been done by the German parties, and to make this transparent. So we thought they will of course use this this option to directly address certain target groups, for example, with their messages. And then again, we found out that those parties did not really use ads targeting that much. Of course, it was quite interesting to collect all those ads and to get an overview, especially on those local ads, because this was something that they did. They only published the ads of local political groups in this area, which totally makes sense. But when you look at this from Hamburg, you don't see them. So this was a helpful project, and we could make them transparent. And there was this site where we collected them like a catalog, also accessible to our users and readers. Yeah, it was not the result that we had expected again. And last year, this topic of algorithmic accountability reporting really got interesting, because we did a project on an extremely powerful algorithm in Germany, the Schufa credit report and record, which is used to assess the credit worthiness of private individuals. And this is quite important here in Germany when you apply for anything, for a bank account, for a mobile phone, for what else, especially for a flat. You need to have your Schufa report ready to prove that you really can pay the rent. So this is really one important algorithm in Germany, and it's not transparent at all. So we had to do crowdsourcing again. And again, we have joined forces with another data team that we knew beforehand quite well in Munich at the Bavarian broadcasters. So we have different target groups. We are in different, we are publishing in different areas. They are doing broadcasting. We are doing the magazine and online news. So it's more or less, it's fitting together. We don't do each other any harm in publishing these stories together. So, and this worked out quite well. And we also joined forces with 2 NGOs in Germany, because in fact it was their topic first, and they had the idea to do it. So we did the crowd sourcing together, and then the 2 data teams, the media data teams, did the investigation with or on based on those data sets together.
And what did you find in those data sets about this Schufa credit score?
We could not really find out how it works in detail in every aspect, because we had I think around 2,000 to 2,500 different reports crowdsourced. So it was quite a lot, but not that many to really investigate on every different or every single aspect. But we found that the score privileges older and female individuals, as well as individuals who change their addresses less frequently, which is quite interesting. And we saw, for example, that there have been different versions of scoring algorithms used within this huge score. So with different outcomes for people with the same background information. So depending on which bank you are having your money on, you can get different results. So some banks used older versions while others have already updated their systems, and that has not been made transparent at all in these reports and discriminated against certain groups of people. So there have been some results.
So, it seems like across all these projects, you've mentioned a lot about collaboration and working with other teams. I wonder if you could sort of elaborate on that and sort of, explain more about how you organize these types of projects, both within your own team and your own organization, and then also working, with these other organizations and groups. Like, what kind of skills do you need on these teams in order to pull off these really big projects?
I think you definitely need your own data journalism department, besides all those collaboration possibilities, because you need the colleagues who can handle huge sets of documents and huge data sets in-house. But they should also be able to write the necessary code and assess the journalistic relevance of the results, because this is a back and forth that we always have in such projects, that we see something in the data sets and then we have to ask ourselves, is this really worth worth it, and is this really a result that we would publish concerning or relating to our journalistic relevance criteria. So we have to have both on board, and I think you also need to have a methodological understanding in the team how such a crowdsourcing process can work, because you have to set up this design framework first with all your partners. I think many other things can be done via collaborations with other data sets or NGOs or scientific partners, for example. But I think it's crucial to have your own team working on the data sets with a journalistic view. And we saw that, we brought together different factors from different systems. So we first had to discuss our relevance criteria. We had to discuss the requirements and the capabilities beforehand. Also, like, how would you report on the results? What would you say? What is the one sentence that we all should be using? Not in terms of PR, but in terms not to get anything wrong. And we, of course, had working tools that we use together. For example, with the Bavarian data team, we had a Slack channel that was on our workspace in Slack, only set up for this project, because it's it's so big that you really need some. I won't call Slack elaborate, but you need to make more. You need such tools.
And then what about sort of the external collaborators? How did you think about, what they were bringing to the table in terms of these projects?
I think they could approach the topic from a different angle. That was quite helpful. For example, the NGOs could really fight for the crowdsourcing and really come up with their really distinguished opinion about making this transparent, and also be a bit more aggressive on that, I would say. For journalists, it was more like, okay, we are not neutral because we think transparency is really important, but concerning the algorithm itself, we want to be more neutral compared to the NGOs, and we should also be independent from them. So because in the end we publish results and we want to be taken seriously by the public, but also by the Schufa, for example, which is a company making much money out of this algorithm. So we had to stay independent. So this is what NGOs can bring in. And concerning the scientific partners, some of them have also been involved in the Algorithm Watch project in the run-up to the elections. They can really bring in methodology and capabilities in terms of analysis skills and data handling, and they could program the Firefox add-on that we used, for example, to collect all those search results, whereas ProPublica, for example, could code this add-on that we use to collect those Facebook ads. We used a Facebook add-on, it was a Firefox add-on to collect the Facebook ads, but I think we could not have done this internally. We don't have the people here, so yeah, there are different skills, but also a different position of those external collaboration partners that can really help.
Right. So, now that you've worked through several of these projects, I mean, is there anything that you've noticed is particularly difficult or challenging in kind of pulling together these investigations?
I think one challenging aspect is the project management, because you need project management skills at least to really foster these investigations with many partners and with many partners in-house and externally. So this is something that is not widespread in journalistic organizations right now. So this is really important. And in Germany, the most challenging aspect besides that is that so many of the algorithms that private actors or the state is working with are not transparent right now. So we have to set up experiments that can reveal at least some discriminating factors or effects based on certain sets of outcomes, but not the algorithms themselves. So we will never be able to get a holistic picture of what they do if we can't investigate the entire system. So this is not that great about Germany right now, and in most cases we don't even know of algorithms that are used or not used. For example, in predictive policing, we know that some units are using them, some are not using them, and there is no information available at all. So transparency is still a huge problem if you do those projects in Germany right now. Yeah.
Wow, seems like a really challenging beat to work on, but maybe also that challenge can motivate some more people to get interested in pursuing these things. On that note, I mean, what kind of advice would you offer to other journalists or other news organizations that are thinking about getting into the algorithms beat, so to say? What would be your advice to them?
I think the most important thing is to do it anyway. Just, I mean, this is such an important topic and we have to investigate on that. We have to look at algorithms, and in our case, I mean, we are not that strong as a data team, and all these algorithms are not that transparent, but at least we could do something. So every bit of transparency is really meaningful now or useful. So I would first say you should do it. And besides that, collaborations can be extremely helpful, as we discussed, with other teams, with scientists, actors from different systems who can approach algorithms in different ways. And it's also, I mean, internally in newsrooms, for example, some of those collaborations might not be that established in the past, but it was really easy to tell everyone why we do it this way and why we have to do it this way. Then I think you should really take some time to set up a meaningful research design in the beginning. It can also be useful to speak with computer scientists or social and cultural researchers about this topic, because in the end, the reliability of your results really is based on this research design. So it's a bit scientific process in the beginning. And I think the most important thing in the end is to define your goals in a sound and comprehensive way. Because, I mean, a first strong goal might also be to raise awareness, because many people don't know about algorithms that are working in certain fields of society. So this is a goal in itself. It's really important. And don't try to deconstruct the algorithm or to investigate every discriminatory effect it might have, because I think you wouldn't really need extensive data sets to do it. In most cases, they are not available. And from the reader's perspective, I would say that the algorithm itself is not the most interesting thing anyway. So they are really much more interested in the results and what their personal impact might be that they can feel in their everyday life. These small bits might be also really important for the readers. So the reader's perspective is really important, I think.
So something is better than nothing, I guess, and just dive in.
Yeah.
And I like that approach. Well, so another topic of the MOOC this week is sort of more about transparency and how journalists themselves can be more transparent in terms of the data and the algorithms that they might be using in their own work. I wonder if you could maybe tell us a little bit about how you and how Der Spiegel sort of approaches issues like transparency for big data journalism or big computational journalism projects.
I think also concerning this topic, you would need to distinguish between different audiences here, because when we think of our readers, I think they really need explanatory articles about our workflows, and that are really and see that we are really transparent about methodological problems and gaps in our data sets, for example. We of course link to our primary sources whenever this is possible. I mean, if it's not a leak, we can do this, of course, and also publish raw data sets as a signal to them that we of course are willing to also share our sources. But in my view, it's really crucial not only to make everything accessible, but also to explain the limitations and implications, oh, sorry for the sounds, in an understandable way. So I think besides that, you could also think of maps or tables, like just tools to make more raw data points accessible that are interesting for reader groups. But I don't think that that our code, for example, is useful in this respect. So on the other hand side, when we don't think about readers only, but also about our colleagues from different data or from other data journalism teams or scientific researchers, we of course share much more. We share our methodology and of course explain our workflows. We give them insights to our work, for example, be it on conferences or in direct personal exchange. And there are also some students that work with our data sets already. So we do this, but not publish everything on the website, because this would be really hard to do, given that the team is quite small, and we would have to really clean up everything afterwards in a much more extensive way than we do it either way. So yeah, but I think
it creates additional work, basically having to clean up and make sure it's publicly publishable.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And we don't think that it's really some kind of signal that our readers really need. I think for them, we should really be more explicit in explaining our methodology and being transparent about those gaps and those problems that we have, and what you can understand and what would be a misunderstanding, like all those examples, for example. But when it comes to other colleagues or researchers, for example, we and in the direct contact, you can also, of course, talk about those problems that are occurring in every code snippet, for example, that you do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is really, really helpful, Christina. Any other parting words of wisdom from leading these teams in sort of either investigating algorithms or trying to be transparent with algorithms?
I think when it comes to algorithms and their role in society, for example, it's really, really important to have a diverse team. Our team could be more diverse because you really have to see those effects and those topics, and it's so much easier if there are people in the team that are really bringing this in from their personal view and from their reality in life. So yeah, it would be really, really helpful to have different different fields in society, or different regions, or different age groups in your team, of course, also women. And this is really, really important, because this is where the really good questions come from your everyday life. Also, as a data journalist, of course, you should also listen to your readers and should really ask them what they want to know or what they experience in their everyday life. This was also quite helpful for these projects, but to get in many different perspectives, I think is a crucial point, and because this really gives you a feeling for what an algorithm does and how it discriminates maybe certain groups in society. Yeah.
I think that's perfect advice and a perfect way to close the interview. So thank you again for spending some time with me and with the MOOC today. It was really great to have you here. Thanks.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks.